Hey guys, welcome to Hope Rescue Podcast. It's Kimberly and Tim Scott. We're glad to be with you, and we've been in a really good
Because
series
we're emotionally mature.
on emotional intelligence.
Are you emotionally mature?
I love these kind of topics because they are so relevant for every part of our life. And even if you don't consider yourself a leader, you're leading somebody. And so it's really good in your family dynamics, friendships, workplace, how you relate to people. And it's a very, it feels like, I know for me, and I think you probably felt the same way, it's sort of been like you're putting yourself through surgery. You're opening up your heart and you're taking a really hard look at how you act and react in situations. Do I have emotional intelligence? And you're saying, what is that exactly? And I'll tell you. Emotional intelligence is the ability to identify and manage one's own emotions as well as emotions of others. That doesn't mean you manage them and tell them what to do. It means, how do you react and respond within yourself? How are you managing that in your own heart? How are you stewarding your heart when somebody else acts or reacts a certain way? Number one, emotional awareness is the ability to identify our feelings and how they impact us. And the second is emotional management, the ability to regulate one's emotions in various situations. So we kind of broke that down.
So, if you can manage your emotions and be aware. So it's not enough to be aware of your emotions. You've got to be able to manage them. There's a lot of people that know they're angry. There's a lot of people know that they can identify why they're angry, what are the triggers and so forth. But they don't know how to manage it. They don't know how to control that anger. And that's really important. Keep this in mind. We live in a fallen world. What I mean by that is we as a race have rebelled against God, and everybody after that rebellion is born in sin.
Right.
And so we have this sin nature. We have this emotional, psychological struggle. And so emotions get out of control. And when emotions get out of control, we don't know how to live with each other. So what God does in his love for us, he actually tests our emotions. I'll give you, there's many examples of this in Scripture, but it says this in Proverbs 26:2. It says, "Prove me, O Lord, and try me. Test my heart and my mind." So you test the heart. The heart is the storage of all of those things that you've received in your life. But the word mind is probably not the best translation. It's from this word I talked about last time, the word kilia. If you didn't hear last week's podcast, go back and listen to it, because we talked about this idea of the metaphor under Hebrew writings about emotions. It's the kidneys, the kilia, as it says in Hebrews. And so it's this filtering for joy, and then the reaction of fear that drives anger or assault, or you either you rage back or you run away, and fight or flight is what the adrenal gland is. And so anyway, all of that is to say he is testing us. He's testing our emotions. Why? Because we live in this fallen world, and because we struggle with emotions, God is trying to refine us. Prove me, O Lord, and refine me. The word try me means to be refined by fire. This idea of gold and the dross, being rising to the top and being refined away and burned away. And so God allows adversity to come into our life, not so that we're experiencing, but so that we grow and mature and become more influential in the society we live in.
That's good.
So it's really important to grow in our emotional maturity. And so what we've done and what we want to do today is talk about doing the work. The work that we do as it relates to our emotional maturity is to change the results so you can be a better person. You can have a better alternative future. You've got to do the work. Healthy communication is not easy. Healthy emotional control is not easy. Here's what I want you to understand as we kind of go through this. do not underestimate the impact or the role of self-protection.
Or the damage.
So, well, yeah, it has
Yeah.
damage to us.
Yeah.
Self-protection is a major factor in our lives. The reason we react to things, fear, we self-protect. I don't want my spouse to get one up on me,
Right.
or I don't want my spouse to control me, or I don't want my spouse to reject me, or I don't want my spouse to not love me. So these things are fear-based. Self-protection is the fear-based response of every human being, and it drives a lot of our negative, unhealthy emotions.
Right.
So
And-
what we're going to talk about is how to do the work. Go ahead.
Yeah,
What were you
so
gonna
I
say?
was just going to say, with those negative emotions we talked about last week, what happens so often is we go into blaming or shaming. And as soon as we do that, dialogue stops in a conversation, you know?
Yeah, it
So
does.
you're off the rails with your emotional intelligence and you start blaming and shaming. You're really not exchanging healthy communication at that point. And you have, even if it's the words have not stopped and you're still like vomiting at the mouth, or so is the other person reacting, you have actually shut down any meaningful opportunity to be able to communicate.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a minute. So if maybe I'm not overtly blaming, but maybe I'm doing blaming like this. You always say this. You always do that. So these extreme statements,
Right.
almost hyperbolic, they're just overly exaggerated
Yes.
statements about your behavior. You always do that.
Or you never do that.
Or you never do that.
Yeah.
And then, or we say, well, you said I was late and you're really upset about that. Let me tell you, you remember last year when you had that relationship with that girl?
Right.
Like, whoa,
Yeah.
okay, now we got shaming brought in.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and immediately dialogue stops.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
if you're going to do the work, the first thing, if you want to be a good communicator
Mm-hmm.
from emotionally mature, you're going to have to stop the blaming and the shaming.
Right. And I think, doing the work has a lot to do with how you speak to yourself. What you believe about yourself is going to directly impact and drive your story to other people. And what you think about yourself, the dialogue, your inner dialogue. And that's the biggest battle for most people, is not what they say to other people, but what they say to themselves and what they repeat to themselves about their self-worth, what they are, what they're not, in healthy and unhealthy ways. And that's where the work needs to begin, honestly, is not how you see yourself, but as we've talked about in prior episodes, how does God see you? How does He define you? What does His Word say about who you are, how He sees you? We have, in our flesh nature, we can only see ourselves through the eyes of our flesh nature. It takes God's Word to be able to remind us of His intent in creating us, and that we are a reflection of who He is, and we are a reflection of His characteristics, and we have that potential. So it kind of starts there, is to discipline yourself to be able to rewrite the dialogue of your own heart and your mind.
Yeah. I was in a meeting the other day that somebody was, making accusations against another person. And I kind of, I stood up for this person in the meeting, but later on I said, how did you respond to that? Well, it didn't bother me. I said, why? I said, because I know what I did was right. And I considered what the person that was saying it, and I knew this person didn't know what they were talking about. I'm like, wow, that's
Yeah,
great confidence.
self-aware.
Emotional,
Emotional intelligence.
emotional intelligence. Really, when you believe about yourself, really positive
Right.
and confident-based things, you can communicate in a way where it's not this self-protective reaction, fear-based reaction, and so forth.
I think that's beautiful, actually. The healthiest form of having a thick skin is actually knowing yourself enough to not feel threatened by someone else's words or attacked, but sitting in and building, doing the work of knowing who you are, your strengths, your weaknesses, and not allowing that to, take you down a notch.
Yeah, a narcissist can have a thick skin too,
Yeah, but not a healthy one.
but not a healthy one.
Driven by shame.
And when you
Yeah.
have confidence,
Right.
that's a healthy, just to make that distinction. The third way that we can do the work of healthy communication out of emotional intelligence, it would start with this, an analysis of our beliefs. What do we truly believe about what's going on? If you're analyzing, you conclude that your emotions are right or wrong. You have made the fool's choice. You're going, it's either right or wrong. There's a lot of gray areas. So what I would like you to do, like each one of us to do, is ask a few things. Ask this first question is, how do I arrive at this belief? The belief develops in an instant. You're in a conversation, somebody says something to you that triggers you, immediate belief starts up, that self-protective fear kicks in, and the false belief says, do I believe this person's motive was blank? And I would say, that person's trying to get to me, or they're trying to beat me up, or they're trying to whatever. So I have to ask myself, how did I arrive at this belief, and why am I reacting to this person?
Yeah, that's good. Another good thing to ask yourself is, what am I feeling right now? What do I feel? Do I feel anger? Do I feel fear? Am I irritated? Is there frustration,
Yeah.
and take a little time to do some introspection there, and then look at the actions driven by those false beliefs and feelings, those are fuel to the fire of what kind of behavior comes out of you.
Yeah.
And so you got to take a minute and do an assessment.
Yeah. What do I believe? What do I feel? And then ask yourself this question, and this is so important in the journey towards emotional intelligence, is what do I really want in this conversation, in this relationship? Let's say I'm in an argument with Kimberly. Never happens because
Never
we're
happens.
practically perfect.
Not
But-
today anyway.
Yeah.
So far, so good.
Not this day, but it could happen later. But in that relationship, in our relationship, when I'm going back and forth, I can find myself self-protective and want to win an argument. But is that what I really want? What I really want is a intimate relationship with Kimberly. I want her respect. I want her love. And for whatever reason, I'm interpreting this conversation as a threat to that.
And what you're going to win is a night on the couch.
Yeah. I've won that a few times.
That's never
Actually, I've never had a night on the couch, but other than one I wanted there. But anyway, the point being that it impacts your beliefs. It impacts the way you feel. And when you really discover what you really want in that conversation, it's very helpful.
Right.
And then the last thing to ask yourself when you're trying to consider, what do you believe, is ask, how do my words impact others? Maybe it's just simple sarcasm. Maybe it's hostility. Maybe it's an accusation. Maybe it's coldness, unkindness. How do my words impact other people? And if I say that to somebody else, it's coming from a deficit place in my soul that is not healthy. I really need to ask myself, how are
Right.
my words impacted? So we're talking about these several things that we need to do the work. The next one, number 4, is this.
It's just that it's never helpful to tell yourself, well, this is just who I am, or I'm a truth teller, and some people can't handle the truth, These are unhealthy ways of justifying your poor communication.
Absolutely.
And
had
I will
people
say,
tell me that.
I will say, there are definitely temperaments, personality types that are more direct and are, straight to the facts. Sometimes it can feel cold. And so the work for someone like that would be to be like, how can I deliver this truth in a way that it will be best received? Because if your goal is to bring change, helpful change, you're going to want to deliver this message in a way that that person can receive it, and so that there's change, right? But what happens is when you get someone who is driven by their all these unhealthy ways of an emotional intelligence, is they use these things as excuses, like, this is who I am, this is just who God made me, I'm a truth teller, I'm a prophet, I'm a whatever. Well, I'm pretty sure like that is an excuse for not having self-control. Because self-control, again, goes back to what's the most loving thing. If we're to love our neighbor, and again, as I said, if you're wanting to communicate something that will be delivered and received, then you're going to take the time to dial it down, dial it back, and communicate in a way that it can be. So it's really important to like measure that. Take a minute, take a deep breath.
I've had people say to me that I knew the reason that they were trying to justify their behavior by saying, hey, this is just the way I talk. Well, excuse my French. You hear that, and then somebody just starts calling you, cussing at you. Well, that's not French. That's just foul, derogatory, disrespectful communication.
Right, exactly.
So we need to take responsibility for our actions.
Right. And I think, number 5 is it's about understanding your own feelings. And sometimes we don't even know the storm that's going on in our heart and what we're feeling and why. So sometimes it's helpful to journal, write down, I'm feeling this way. Why am I feeling this way? I'm feeling some anger. I'm also feeling afraid, and to be able to this is part of the work, is to take a minute before you're reacting in an emotion and do an assessment. What am I feeling? Am I feeling sad? Is this a byproduct of grief, relating to something else? But to take the time and do the work to actually be introspective and do yourself that favor and other people around you.
And I think that's a hard thing to do, to actually put pen to paper and say, this is what I'm feeling. And
then burn it. No.
Yeah. No, keep it and look at it and pray about it.
Yeah.
And so you can see your growth over time. That's part of doing the work. Another thing to do the work is watch out for the trilogy of extreme beliefs. And I can't remember where I read this. So this is not original with us, not original with me. I read it somewhere, and I just want to share these real quick. These are the 3 things. It's not my fault. It's all his fault, and there is nothing I can do about this. Let me just a little bit about each one of those. It's not my fault. I'm right. Everyone is out to, screw me. Everybody is out. I've had people say that everybody's out to get me. We create a double standard. I can go get people, but I don't want them to get me. I can talk badly about people and gossip, but I don't want people to gossip about me.
Yeah.
The second one of this trilogy of extreme beliefs, it's not my fault. Number 2 is it's all his fault. I'm right, he's wrong, and he better change, and I have no reason or no fault in this at all. It's all him. And then the third one, there's nothing I can do about this. I'm right. There's nothing I can do to change the outcome. Even if I tried to communicate better, he wouldn't listen.
Right.
So we at that point, we say, you know what? I'm not going to do anything. If you want to do the work, let me just, say this real quick. You're going to have to learn to dialogue away from blame and shame. You're going to have to stop believing that you are less than, really believe in yourself. You're going to have to analyze what you truly believe. You're going to have to, the idea of not saying this is just the way I am. You can change. Believe you can change. Understand what your feelings. Write them down, and really change those belief systems so we can do the work.
Absolutely. And I just want to give Tim a shout out here, because this is such a perfect series to be able to bring this up again. And that is about doing work. Tim rolled up his sleeves to do work years ago. began the process of kind of this introspection. All of these things that we've been talking about has been a journey that he was on in learning to manage his own negative emotions. So I want to just be able to encourage you, if you're looking for a great resource. He wrote a book called Breathe. And
just happen to have a copy here.
I asked him to go get it for me. It's called Breathe: Overcoming Anxiety, Depression, and Negative Emotions. And this is definitely a workbook if you're looking for work. And this is the process that you went through in unpacking a lot of those things that had been laying dormant, had built put down a stake in your heart. They were keeping you held hostage in growing in your emotional intelligence and in growing in the workplace and dealing with relationships. But it was deepening levels of anxiety and depression in your life by not dealing with that. So I just would encourage you. You can get it through our website. You can also get it on Amazon if you wanted to, any main platform. But it's called Breathe: Overcoming Anxiety, Depression, and Negative Emotions.
You can go to our website, like Kimberly said. That's the best place to get it. And if you go there, then we will give you 2 copies for the price of 1.
Well, there you go.
So maybe you have a friend that you'd like to give it to. It's actually 13 chapters meant to be read over 13 weeks.
Right.
And slowly at the end of each chapter, there's a little bit of work that you can do and kind of analyze how you're growing and maturing. So anyway, it's there. We are so grateful for you as our listeners. We want to impact your lives in a very positive way. If you would like to donate to this ministry of ours at Hope Rescue, you can go to our website, hoperescuepodcast.org, and you can give there everything. We're a nonprofit. It's all tax deductible, and we would appreciate anything that you would like to share with us. We so appreciate those who do give, and we just are able to keep bringing this to you because of that. Yeah. So hopefully this has been a helpful series for you. This concludes our 3-week series on emotional intelligence. Maybe we'll work on some other intelligence. I don't know. So AI, maybe. I don't know. Artificial, because I've had artificial intelligence for years. Bad joke. Anyway,
good joke.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time on Hope Rescue.
Bye, guys.
Bye.